Plugged, an inclusive show founded by two best friends who wanted to create a safe space to discuss everything from breaking generational repeats
to building generational wealth. Join us as we unpack important topics and reconstruct our thought process
so we can connect with each of you and all become our best selves.
Hey everybody, I'm Jay Kroon.
And I'm Alicia B.
And this is Plugged. All right, we have our special guest today, somebody who's a dear friend to us both, and my brother, Rucker Odem.
Hi everybody.
Woo!
How you doing? Hold on.
So, Rucker currently works as a senior consultant in employee and labor relations. Tell the folks something about yourself. Give us your credentials.
Yeah, and tell
wow.
what our description really means. Like, what is it?
It's just a bunch of words, right? So, so a little bit about me. I've worked in human resources for, date myself here, 20 years.
All your life.
Wow.
All my life I had to,
Work.
in 20 years, I've been in different facets of human resources, be it talent management and recruiting, and I've done the administrative part like payroll and benefits. Also have worked in labor relations and unionized environments, non-union environments, a little bit of everything in terms of employee and labor relations. Graduated from NIU, Northern Illinois, Huskies.
All right, shout out to all the alumni.
Nah.
Okay.
Thank you for the degree, though. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
But NIU was some good times. Graduated from NIU with a degree in bachelor's degree in human resources. Well, the major was business management, but the emphasis was human resources. Worked in retail, real estate, manufacturing, education, different industries. And right now, I'm focusing on employee and labor relations. So it's been an interesting journey where I met you all, actually, doing HR, human resources, and labor relations. I met these two beautiful souls, and they were coworkers that became friends and family. So I appreciate y'all having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
We appreciate you, and I want to shout you out. Thank you for giving me some direction, because you're the reason I went into business management. And you helped me to, you helped me. No, definitely. I really didn't know what I was doing. And normally, you talk to a career person or the advisor at school, but you really were my advisor, and you sharing your personal experiences with me helped me to realize I liked business management. I didn't like human resources, but I did graduate recently with thanks to you for giving me direction for business management with a specialization in project management. So I want y'all to know how influential this guy is and how much he's bringing to the table. And not only has he affected my life, but many others, because you also coach football, right?
Yes, correct. I coach youth football. I have all daughters, so this is my chance to get away from them and be around the boys. What's that?
Hashtag girl dad.
Yeah, girl dad. Yeah, true. I love it. I love coaching, especially young Black boys. I probably say 70% of our kids don't have a father figure in the home. And so we have adopted these kids. Basically, they're our kids. Yeah. And it's probably one of the best jobs that I've ever had. I mean,
you're doing your work.
There's no pay for it, but the pay comes in different areas. So I love it. Hopefully we can have a season. Hopefully this Rona get taken care of, but I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, I do love coaching too.
Cool. I just want to highlight that because I think it's important for once we get our degrees and once we do what we want to do in our own life. And I know you have, three girls, which is huge for you to even take that time and go coach the team and help coach the team, because I know there's other coaches out there as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very, very Awesome.
Thank you.
I definitely wanted to highlight that for
Thank
you
you.
to be able to give your time like that in that capacity.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Moving on to our first question for you, because we want to
Sure.
definitely give people some insight on how to interview, especially during COVID, but we really want to focus on the interviewing process. A lot of the times we'll get the interview and we'll fumble. We don't know how to interview correctly. So what are hiring managers looking for in a candidate?
What are hiring managers looking for in a candidate? I would probably say the easy answer is you, right? They're looking to find out about you, the person. So whatever job that you are interviewing for or applying for, the responsibilities are kind of assumed that you would know what to do or how to do them, based on your experience or not. So what they're looking for is what differentiates you from the rest of these 100 resumes that I have. Like, what differentiates Alicia from Jay, and why should I pick Alicia over Jay or Jay over Alicia? And so a lot of that comes not just from experience actually working or doing a job, but your personality. Are you able to be dynamic? Can you work without direction? Can you be autonomous? Can you lead? Can you be part of a team? Or conversely, are you hard to work with? Are you, difficult when you get in a team environment? Do you need a lot of direction? Do you need a lot of guidance? Do you need to be micromanaged versus, again, somebody giving you autonomy so you can go do your thing? And this is with the given that you know what you're doing in terms of the actual responsibilities of the job. So what people are looking for is you, the personality, like what differentiates you. Because if we're making widgets, anybody can make a widget. I can train you to put this piece on that piece and then send it down the line. But what differentiates you if that piece doesn't fit this time? Okay, can you come up with a solution? Can you, change management? Can you be flexible enough if something happens that is outside of the norm that you can still handle it, that you don't freak out, that you can, actually handle what's being given to you? So they're looking for people who are dynamic, people who bring ideas too, because a lot of the times when something happens, employees just look to the manager like, okay, so what do I do? What you want me to do? Versus, hey, this is how I think we can fix this or rectify this, or this is something we can do to make it better or more efficient. Employers want people like that. And you see it because in the technology age, which we're in big tech companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, all these companies, they employ people with the expectation that they are going to bring in the next ideas for the next business model for that organization. Right. I mean, Google has all these things. When they first started, it was a search engine. It was all you were doing was searches. Right. Now they have Google Voice, Google Apps, Google Play, Google Maps, all these things, and they were probably spun off by ideas from their employees. So again, being you is what employers are looking for.
Yeah, because we just learned on the first episode that they actually have that Google has the website where you can find jobs now. Mm-hmm. So
like the job search engine?
Yeah. So and they show I think multiple job sites too. It's not just like a Google thing. Like it's just like whatever you're looking for, they're showing multiple avenues. So
yeah.
Too. So somebody brought that to the table.
They did.
Absolutely. And in fact, Google, part of the requirements in their positions, or I think for certain positions, is you have to work on a project of your own, or your own ideas that you came up with. You have to spend 25% of your actual work time developing your own idea and working on that, as opposed to just, your normal regular job. So that fosters creativity as well. So they're getting it right. They definitely getting it right.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question too. So are they looking for transferable skills also? Is that something that you guys?
Yes. So, I mean, most of us, and Jay, you'll attest to this and know this, and you too, Alicia, whatever you study, be it in high school or college, may not be the field that you end up working in. Mm-hmm. There are certain skills that are akin to all fields. And those are more the interpersonal skills. Like we talked about being able to work in a team environment. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will tell you, I work best by myself. Well, That's not really the case in this day and age. We're all a part of a team one way or another, whether you're working on a project, be it a project management application, or working on a team, sports. That's those are skills that are transferable across any industry. Communication is probably the number one transferable skill that you need, whether you are a finance person or you're a manufacturer working on a manufacturing line. You have to be able to communicate. A lot of the things that are transferable are what people call soft skills, which is basically interpersonal skills, your ability to communicate, ability to think, and be able to be dynamic with change. A lot of that stuff is transferable. With regard to the actual physical work or the mental work that you may be doing in the job, that may be transferable depending on what field you go into. So if you were a finance person and you went over to accounting, some of those skills may be transferable in terms of the numbers piece of it, but the most transferable skills that employers rather, are looking for are the soft skills, the interpersonal skills. So if you can do that, any company can train you to do whatever they're asking you to do. So if it's whether you manufacturing or retail sales or whatever, they can teach you the functionality of that job, of that position, but they can't teach you how to communicate with customers. They can't teach you how to work within a team. They can't teach you how to deal with difficult situations. That has to be intrinsic. So that's probably the biggest, or those are probably the biggest transferable skills that I can think of.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right. So our next question is, what is appropriate interview attire like? What are they? Like, can I come interview in this right now in my little?
What you got on? You got on a Nike.
Can I come?
So
yes. Look, the biggest question: yes to jeans or no? Because I know. I know a lot of people, especially when you're like in a manufacturing environment, some people, depending on the job, they think it's okay to come in jeans.
So etiquette in terms of dress and attire has really changed from when I was first looking for a job to current times, because things have gotten more lax where, when I was first looking for a job, it was automatic: suit, shirt, tie, dress shoes, like automatic. It was not questioned. It was like that was what you wore regardless of the position, whether you were trying to become a lawyer or a janitor. That was the expectation. And things have become lax depending on the industry and the position. There are certain things, and anybody who's worked in HR, who's done interviews, all have war stories about people coming into interviews, what they look like, what they did, and so on and so forth. I mean, literally, like I've told y'all about some of the experiences that I've had. So, but to answer the question, I think it really depends on the position. So if you are applying for a sales manager position at a retail operator, you should go in with a business attire, because you are going to be, if you get this job, you're going to be interacting with customers on behalf of that organization. So you represent that organization, and that starts with what you look like. Right. And so you could be the best sales manager in the world. Some people might not give you a shot based on what you look like. That's just how it goes. You could have the top sales in the country, but if you come in there with a book on your shirt and your hair messed up and you smell a little musty, whatever the case is, they're going to be like, nah, we good. We don't need anything your company has to offer us, because you are a representation of them.
Right.
And so the book on the shirt, that's not made up. I've had people come in
not representing the brand with
boogers on their shirt. And so like you have to look presentable. And another thing is, a lot of times candidates feel pressure to, I got to get the business suit, I got to get the dress shoes, I got to get this, I got to get the tie. And they go broke trying to do that, or they spend money that they don't have. If your situation is one where you can't afford a suit and tie, a shirt, or something like that, just be clean, just be neat. Mm-hmm. You may not have the opportunity to have a custom-made suit and coming in there, suited and booted or whatever. But as long as you're neat and clean, people understand, and companies, organizations understand that times are hard. Everybody doesn't have the resources that we all have. And so neat and clean. Let me just make a list. First, be neat and clean. Clean. Don't be in there after you just hooped, talk about I got a job interview, smelling like wine thong thang. Don't come.
So
don't do that.
Deodorant. We need deodorant. Yeah,
soap and water.
Soap and water too.
With a towel.
Old Spice on and not.
No, you can't have COF, cologne over funk. You can't do that. So you got to be clean. Make sure your clothes are neat. You don't have to have designer clothes or custom made clothes, but just make sure they're neat and clean. Make sure it's the same for your shoes too. I like J's. Don't get me wrong. I like Air Maxes. I like a lot of different gym shoes, but you also have to understand you're in an interview, and that's not really interview attire unless you trying out for the Bulls or some sort of organization where this is part of the job.
Right.
So business and business casual is what I would say is appropriate for an interview. And for those of you who don't know what business casual is, and culturally it's different things to different cultures, but I won't even get into that. But business casual would be like khaki pants, a button-up shirt or a polo shirt if it's the summertime, and just regular casual shoes. Not gym shoes, not ones, not J's, but just regular casual shoes.
The loafers.
The Brooks brothers, the brothers Brooks, yeah.
I just want to point out, like you said, that's one of the things I never thought about. People don't, maybe not having the money. Obviously, you coming to get a job. So we joke and we talk, but for those who situations like that, Goodwill.
Absolutely. There are lots of organizations that that give away. There's a guy I follow on Instagram. I think his Instagram name is like 100 Suits, and he literally collects suits to give to people who are interviewing. There's organizations in Chicagoland area for women, especially for women's clothing and shoes and everything. So like, don't feel like I got to go broke to try to look a certain part, because again, like we went to the first thing, they're looking at you.
Yeah.
I mean, those of you who have seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness, it's a true story, right? He went in there with a wife beat and some dirty pants, and he sold himself because of who he was. Not so much that he had the tailored suit and he looked all put together or whatever, and that's extreme. But again, don't feel like you got to go broke or get some new clothes just to interview. You might have something that you haven't worn in a while. As long as it's neat and clean, go with it, or check out one of these organizations.
Yeah, most definitely. And so the last question that I have for you is, what are some top interview questions candidates should ask, and then especially separately during COVID-19?
Okay.
Yeah, what should they be considering? Yeah.
Right, definitely. I think interview questions. So every candidate that interviews with any company, you need to know something about that company.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times that I've completed an interview, and at the end of the interview, I asked the candidate, so what questions do you have for me? And they look at me like, you like it here? I'm not interviewing. Like, yeah, I'm working here, bro. Like, I'm interviewing you. So, know something about the organization and what they do. And that can lead to a question. So, for instance, if I am interviewing at McDonald's, it can be McDonald's. Everybody knows McDonald's. Everybody knows what they do. So it's not like you can be like, so y'all make hamburgers? Like, nah, don't be stupid. So you can say, what is, if you're applying for food production position, you can say, well, what is the expectations for the number of meals that I get out per hour? They're gonna be like, oh okay, we see you out here with these questions. It's going to show a couple things, that you've done some research and that you're interested in the organization. So the questions that you ask need to be related to the specific position that you are applying for, and then also to the organization as a whole. Does McDonald's ever think about expanding into whatever? Can you tell me why the ice cream machine don't ever work? No, don't ask that. Don't ask that.
Right, don't ask that.
But no, just ask questions that are pertinent to the position that you're applying for, or things that you just want to know. Like, well, how long has this particular location been in business? You know, the owners, do they have other locations? Do they have a management training program or ownership training program? Things that will show that you've done your research and that you're interested in the organization and the position. Now, with regard to COVID, I think the very first thing you should be asking about is that particular company's safety precautions and safety measures. Like if you work, let's just use that same example, McDonald's. Like that's close quarters, that's close proximity. And everybody has heard for the last almost 3 months, you got to stay 6 feet away from people. You got to wear your mask, you got to do this, that, and the other. I would ask questions like, what precautions and what processes are you all putting in place to ensure the safety of your employees? Because I can want to work here all day, but if I get sick and I, get COVID-19, then it's a wrap. I could either miss work for 2 weeks or worse. We've unfortunately seen how many people have not recovered once they go on ventilators. And it's like, I'm literally potentially risking my life because we don't know what our coworkers are doing at home or who they've been exposed to or what they even have. So I would ask questions about the company's safety precautionary methods or whatever processes that they're taking. Second, I would talk about the financial impact because this has crippled our economy. Like we're literally in the crib all day. And so we're not out spending money at McDonald's and Best Buy and all these places. And so how has this financially impacted McDonald's? And more importantly, how will it affect me? Will you hire me today? And then 3 weeks later, you tell me you got to lay me off because business is bad? Like, what does the forecast look like in terms of McDonald's recovering or whatever company, McDonald's for example, recovering in the near future once these shelter-in-place directives are lifted, across the country? And then also, how will it affect my paycheck? You're hiring me today, but does that mean you're going to hire me today and for the first couple of weeks you give me 40 hours a week and then after that I'm working 15, I'm working 20, maybe 18, maybe next week I only got 7 because you don't need as many people? Like, what does the forecast look like for this position from an hour standpoint and the ability to work standpoint? And those are probably the 2 biggest questions that I would ask. Again, how are you keeping me safe? And are you ensuring me that I'm going to have a position with this company?
Okay. Yeah. And then should we be asked about benefits?
In the interview? So that's a tricky thing, right? So
that's why I'm like, that's tricky for me. I never know whether or not to tip that territory or not.
Right. So it really depends on the interview process, right? Well, first, again, going back to what I said before, do your research on the company, because a lot of times an organization will have information about their benefits on their website. So everything's not going to be on there, but they kind of list, for the most part, everything that they offer their employees. Next thing, it kind of really depends on the interview process. So if you have an interview process with multiple interviews for you start out the process with a phone interview. And they say, okay, Jay, we want to bring you in for a face-to-face interview. And the next step will be the face-to-face interview. And then you do well and say, you know what, Jay, we want you to meet the president. That would be the final step in the interview. I wouldn't ask about benefits on the phone interview, and probably not in the first interview unless that hiring manager breaches the topic with you first. Like, hey, do you know anything about our benefits package? And you'd be like, oh, no, I briefly read on the internet what you have, and then let them expound on it. But when you come in like, y'all got benefits, when I get paid, what's the first day I get? That's an automatic, hold on, because we see that you got some of the benefits, baby. Yeah, so you want to let them kind of open up that topic to discuss. But in the final interview, like that face-to-face, like with the president, the example that I just used, at that point, they are showing you that we're very interested in you because you are at the last step in this process. And if you get an opportunity to talk with like an HR person or whoever handles the benefits side, if they're available, then you can definitely ask them. I had some questions about the benefits package. I'm pretty far along in the hiring process. I've met this person, that person. Everything looks like it's pretty good. I'm very interested in the organization. I was just wondering, can you tell me a little bit about the benefits package? That's when you can kind of talk about that subject, but don't do it in the phone screen or the first one, because you come across as that's the only thing that you're there for. And don't get me wrong, we go to work to get paid. Like, let's keep it real. Like, we go to get that check. Let's all in people, I just do it for the love of, okay, whatever. I need my bag, so whatever.
Run it.
So yeah, so it's just like, just know when to approach that topic. Don't be too overzealous with it. And also with pay too. Don't let that be the first thing out your mouth when they ask if you have any questions at the end of that first one. Do you have any questions? Yeah, so how much I'm finna get paid? You're not finna get paid anything. So you're finna go. That's what you're finna do. So like, don't let that be one of the questions. And again, you have to be able to tailor your responses based on what that hiring manager is giving you. If the hiring manager brings up pay, then you can talk about pay. If they bring up benefits, you can talk about benefits. So it just really depends on how the flow of the interview goes, and their level of comfortability with sharing certain information. So, yeah, it's a tricky thing, because a lot of candidates think like, well, I don't really want to ask about money, or I don't really want to ask about benefits or schedule or hours. But that's important, right? Because that affects our lifestyles. Like, if we have children or family or whatever, we want to know what hours I'm going to be away from my house. We have car notes and mortgages and second mortgages and baby mamas and everything else. So we need to know how much we're going to get paid. Yeah. It's important. We have kids, we have ourselves. Health is important. We need to know what the benefits package looks like. So you have to be able to talk about those things. It's just strategically when you discuss it, right? Yeah,
that's some great information.
Really good information.
Well,
thank you.
We want to say thank you.
No doubt.
Dropping those droplets of knowledge, sprinkle them all. Right, them slithers.
Oh man.
So we want to say thank you again for being on the show.
Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate it. This is cool. I appreciate this.
Oh man, thank you. It's our pleasure. Right, you have to come on back for another slither of episode.
Little information. Yeah, no doubt. So Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me just say, I like what y'all are doing. I saw the first episode. Congratulations! Shout out for the launch of the show. I remember.
Oh, you have a show as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. But before I go into that, now, I remember like you all recording at work, and I was like, man, that's pretty dope that y'all came together. And the things that you all talk about, it's not surface level stuff. You all talk about things that affect human beings. I mean, employment is just one part of our lives, but you all talk about mental and emotional health and relational health and a myriad of things that sometimes we don't talk about as humans because we're embarrassed or we're too shy or we don't want to get labeled as a certain type of thing or whatever. But you all push the envelope in terms of talking about these things in an open forum. And that's really dope. And for Black people, and I'm not biased or anything like that, but to see it come from Black people where mental and emotional health is so stigmatized and so downplayed when it's so important, kudos to y'all, because y'all are really doing things that are necessary. And it goes beyond, just, we're just talking. It goes beyond because it helps people. Like, y'all don't know who's listening that may be at their wit's end and they catch a glimpse of y'all show or hear some part of y'all podcast and say, man, I feel like that too. And then they start tuning in and then they start talking to somebody or they seek therapy or whatever the case may be. So what y'all doing? Salute.
We salute back to you, man. You're in a community with us, and that's what we're trying to do is build community online. Technology is moving rapidly and changing, and we want to move with it to make sure that we can affect people in a positive light.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being a part of that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, what's your show?
Our podcast is the Diplomats Podcast. We are on Instagram and Facebook. You can tune in to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we just got on iHeartRadio. So check those out. And Buzzsprout, the Diplomats podcast. Shout out to Eric, Kyla, Crystal. We will have some new episodes posting pretty soon. But we basically talk about a little bit of everything. Ratchet to Righteous.
Yeah, they got some good episodes, y'all. Make sure y'all catch it. I definitely do tune in.
And you know what? Hopefully, we can all link up at some point with our two.
Definitely. Hey, we're about plugging in.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, so let's get plugged in. But shout out to your co-host and shout out to you for coming on today. Thank you for representing.
Bless.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Thank y'all.
No problem. I'm your host, Jay Kroon.
And I'm Alicia B.
And this was Plugged.
I'm Jay Kroon, and thank you so much for tuning into our show, Plugged. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that share button. Until next time, peace and blessings.
Share.